Very good evening, a warm welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine, presented by Pick n Pay. And welcome, if you're in South Africa, to Human Rights Day and moving towards the end of a nice, relaxed public holiday Monday. If you are watching this, as many of our viewers do in the UK, for instance, well, it's just been a normal working day and you're probably in need of a glass of wine, in which case we have some inspiration because we have two wonderful wine stories to talk you through today. One of them involves a new brand to an old face, as a fairly well-established South African wine estate gets reborn under a new label in the hands of a skilled and very well-known member of our South African wine community. And then we will be looking at the world of rugby through a glass of wine, because one of South Africa's finest sevens players ever decided not that long ago that he actually quite liked wine, and in fact he'd rather like to make some, and that is exactly what he has done. The player in question is Seabelo Senatla, and together with Reino Thiart from Idiom, Making Glory. That is Seabelo's wine label, a 7 blend of the red varietals. What's in it? What does it taste like? And why on earth has Seabelo Senatla gone into wine? We'll find out from him just a little later. In a moment, though, it is off to what many of you will have known once upon a time as Cordoba. It has a new name, and reveal that in a second if you don't already know. Just to let you know, a couple of things, though, to look out for this coming week. Up tomorrow, online tomorrow, the first of a 2-part series in which I catch up with the quite fabulous Michael Frijon, sadly not wearing a bow tie, but revealing some wonderful stories about a truly magical journey through the world of wine, his time in France, his time in South Africa, and his thoughts on both the wine world, past and present, and a few thoughts to the future. So that kicks off part 1 tomorrow. Part 2 next week. Look out on Thursday. Some of you might already be going to this. I'll be hosting a live tasting online with the Forrester team, Ken Forrester and Lo Stradum, and that will be looking at some vertical from the Ken Forrester stable, and in particular the FMC. And as a prelude to that, I'll be looking at some older Ken Forrester wine on the live show on Thursday, as well as tasting some Bilkat Salmon Champagne from France, what they try and make to do their best to mirror Cup Classique. So that's later on this week. Right now, though, time to head over to the Cape and say a very good evening to a man who for about 2 decades was the driving force behind Rupert and Rothschild. He's now got a couple of new ventures, and they're all terribly exciting. We're focusing on one of them today. Let's meet the man in question. It is Schalk-Willem Joubert. Schalk, very good evening. Warm welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity.
Well, it is such a long overdue opportunity, because you are such a part of the South African winemaking fabric and furniture. We really should have had you on years and years ago. And in fact, if we had you a couple of years ago, we could have still had you during your time at Rupert and Rothschild. Before we jump into where you are now and the wine we're going to be drinking this evening, just take us back to that time and the journey you went through creating a new brand that's become such a household label in South Africa.
Well, I was fortunate enough to be at the right time at the right place when the partnership was formed in towards the end of '96, and '98 being our first vintage. I was appointed the winemaker of Rupert and Rothschild, and from the onset, we've decided to focus on Bordeaux varieties for obvious reasons, and to have only one white, being the Chardonnay, Baroness Nadine. So I think the fact that we've been extremely focused on what we do helped us in becoming quite a well-known brand in South Africa. Also, Dan, do remember at the time, there were not too many new wineries. I mean, Buchenwald just started off as well. So you had your established wineries and you had the Berghelder wines. So it was easier to gain some sort of a foothold in the local market.
You managed to do that very successfully, and it's become, I think, the volumes that the classiques sell each year are extraordinary, and it is so popular. How difficult then was it to say goodbye to what in many ways was your creation? You'd brought it up, you'd given it to the world. Was it a tough decision to say, you know what, I think enough is enough now?
Yes, of course it's tough. Winemaking is not a job; it's part of your life. You live and you become the brand, and I've learned a lot. I had a lot of opportunities, which I will always be grateful. So it was not an easy decision; it was a family decision. And I've been with Rupert and Rothschild, happy years, incredible time that I had there. But I was given the opportunity to form part of investors and to look at a site in the Helderberg. And for me, quite a late stage in my career to make a bold move like that. But I'm so glad I did it. As a winemaker, you don't often get the chance to start something from scratch. You normally inherit winery or wines, for that matter. You inherit a style. And for me to come to the Helderberg and to start from scratch is just an incredible opportunity.
It's an opportunity that focuses on two particular properties. We will have you back on the show in the next month or so to talk about the rosé and the pleasantly surprising decision to have an estate just focused on rosé. It's the first for South Africa. So we'll do that in due course. But tonight we talk about the other project, and that's one that I think will have a lot of people nostalgically throwing back to the days of the original Crescendo, and that was the Cordoba estate. For people who don't, might not even have heard, not have realised, talk us through the decline of Cordoba, and then from the ashes, the emergence of the phoenix that is Taaibosch.
Well, basically, Cordoba established itself in 1995 with a wine called Crescendo. I think it was our first geeky wine. It's the first wine in South Africa that was predominantly Cabernet-based blend. It's way ahead of its time. Very, very elegant, and it created a cult following almost immediately. And unfortunately for them, and fortunately for us, in 2006 they've decided to stop making wine, and they were starting. Then they started to sell their grapes. But at the time, there was just nothing touching Cordoba, being a site that is so perfect for Cabernet Franc and for Merlot. For us, it was just incredible to get this property. The timing was right, and I consulted with the previous winemaker, Thiart, because without him, there wouldn't have been a Cordoba. And it's quite important, and I want to stress this. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. So these are the grapes that we've had on the property. So it was for me very, very easy just to continue where he left off. However, I'm not trying to recreate a Cordoba. Technology changed, winemaking changed a bit as well. So for me, I want to give the wine drinker, my consumer, a sense of place. This is what Cordoba tastes like. This is what the site tastes like. So for us, it is an extremely exciting time launching this new wine.
You've obviously had plenty of experience with the wine. You would have drunk it as it was manufactured. David Higgs was telling me a couple of days ago he had a bottle of Cordoba from the early 2000s, just a week or so back. Absolutely loved it. Talk to me about the balance between, on one hand, the excitement of paying tribute to the legend of this Crescendo, while on the other hand, the challenge and maybe even the nerves of picking up the mantle of such an iconic South African wine.
Well, to start off, the vineyards are here. They're planted in more or less the same percentages where the first Cordoba wine's been made of. And for me, a Grand Vin is a wine or exceptional wine. It's a wine that you can drink when it's young, but it does have the ability to age well. So for me, in terms of the style of wine and the way that we produce wine, it's one that is very soft, silky, elegant. There's nothing big about the wine. There should be some sort of a generosity in the mid-palate, but it's one that, if you had some of the early 2000s, you would know that it's got another 10 years to go. So for me, the excitement is there. Although I'm quite nervous. Launching a new brand in a market where everybody is discounting around you. It's quite daunting, to be honest.
It's also a wine that you've approached in a very specific way, because as I understand it, you're not making massive amounts of wine, and your method of selling it and getting it to people is going to be quite bespoke.
Yes, we've decided from the beginning we don't have a lot of it. Our other vineyards are not old enough to be part of the Taaibosch Crescendo wine, so it will take another 2 or 3 years to get the volumes right. So the question arises, so who do you give the wine to? And we've decided in principle, and maybe something that we were taught during the whole pandemic that we've had, is that there should not be a disconnect between the farm and your consumer. And in a way, I would like to put emphasis on the fact that my consumer would like to come and visit, if it's by any means possible, to taste the wine. So we're selling direct online to consumers. They are welcome to, once they are a club member, they are welcome to visit the estates. Myself or one of the winemakers would personally do the tasting inside the cellar, and then to sell to restaurants and on consumption establishments. I don't have enough, unfortunately, at this stage to put off-con sales. And the question remains is who are you going to give the wine to and who not? So in order to avoid that, we've decided for the time being, this is the way that we're going to sell a wine, and that we are focusing primarily on the South African market. You have to be well known in your country before trying to sell wines overseas. So for us, the South African market is really, really important.
All right. Well, we're going to try this wine in just a second to see how the legend of Crescendo has been picked up again. Is this all you're making, or is there other wine that's either in production or on the horizon?
For the time being, we're taking a deep dive, and this is the only wine that we're making. I will be releasing in maybe 2 or 3 years' time 100% of pure Cabernet Franc, something that we are playing with. I'm not... I want to make sure that the wine is ready prior to being released. So the Cabernet Franc is something that's in the distant future. But the Crescendo itself now, it's the only one that we produce, yes.
All right. Well, let's give it a crack. This is the 2018 Taaibosch Crescendo, which I am pouring with great excitement. I have not tried this yet. I've obviously tried the old Crescendo, but this is the first of the new. Before I do try it, remind everybody the makeup of this particular wine, Schalk.
60% Cabernet Franc, 40% Merlot, and 10% Cabernet Sauvignon. That is the makeup. That's the percentages of the vineyards that we do have. The vines were planted in 2001. All
right, nice and simple. All right, well, I've poured it. The color looks fabulous. Give me the introduction. Schalk's guided tour.
One of the most difficult things, whether it's wine or whether it's food, is the less is more principle. It is where complexities is coming into the fore, where it's changing in the glass, and the longer I've been making wine and been in this game, the more I realize how important texture is for me. Texture is becoming almost the overriding thing for me in a wine. Of course, the nose is important, but the texture, the finish, the tension within the wine for me is really very, very important. So if you're looking for really big, powerful, wooded wines, this is not going to be a wine. I'm really trying and focus to make sure that I showcase Helderberg. A wine needed a sense of place for me. That's the difference between making a commercial wine where everything more or less tastes the same year in, year out. Vintage variation plays a role. We are really trying and to say this is what Cabernet Franc, Merlot, and Cabernet Sauvignon grown on our site tastes like. If you would eat the grapes from the vine in a different form, obviously, once it's fermented, this is what it tastes like.
It's just a glass full of elegance. It's a glorious wine, and it's one you're clearly very very happy with and very proud of, but also one much like the earlier Cordoba, as we mentioned, is still very, very early on in its journey. Is it a challenge, especially now you're just launching a newly done brand? You want people to know about it and to learn about it and to try it. And yet, at the same token, it's one you probably want people to be hanging on to for the next 5-10 years. It's a conundrum there.
Yeah, yes, of course. It's a conundrum because drinkability and a wine that's worthy or will benefit with age, but the two are not necessarily removed from each other. If you open even some of the Grand Vins, if you open a wine, it's giving you pleasure now. Yes, it is young. Yes, maybe it will benefit with further bottle maturation. But should you have one bottle now and you wait another 2 or 3 years and have another, we must remember wine is most instances a fast-moving consumer product. So it's something to be enjoyed. It's something that most grand or most top-end estates would like their wines to mature. But I want people to enjoy the wine now as well.
Yeah, I think the stat is that out of every 5 bottles that are bought somewhere around the world today, 4 of them will have been drunk by the end of today. It's pretty much
especially in my householding, yes. Yes, I agree with you, Dan. Now the next challenge is you're producing a wine, you have this incredible site, and now you have to build a brand for this, and you don't have much volumes. So the personal touch, the fact that we do things slightly different, that we are in the process of becoming an organic estate, all these things that we're trying to get right. I mean, we are custodians of the land, and we farm with soil. So soil health, doing the right thing, not because it's a marketing gimmick and not because I'm going to ever put organic on a label. That's not the point. But you do it because it's the right thing to do. So for me, I would like to portray Helderberg in this uniqueness of this site.
The industry that you sit in, you alluded to it earlier, it's not in its healthiest state. So a challenging time to be launching a new label. Looking at where the industry is at the moment, how confident, how excited, how worried are you about South African wine as we look ahead over the next couple of years?
I'm concerned. We have a declining drinking population. I think we as industry is in certain ways to blame. We tend to overcomplicate things. I think that we've been producers foremost before we've been businessmen. We could change our approach in our clients or with our prospective clients. And that's one of the reasons why I want to educate people, in the sense that, not educate, bring them here, show them what we do, if it's by any means possible, and simplify it in a way, and for that, and I know I'll be crucified for saying this, but in a way, Scotland and the guys there made it a bit sexy again, and as an industry, I always believe a tide lifts all boats, it's not only me, myself, the better my neighbor does, the better for me.
It's lots to contemplate as we go forward. But I think it's really exciting that we've got somebody like you launching something like this at the moment, and it's one that I think is going to get a lot of excitement. You mentioned a lot of it's going to be engagement, so people want to come and visit you, come and see the team, come and try the wine. How's that process going to work, Scott?
Well, we've just started, so. On the website to contact us is the easiest way. The email address, everything is there, and please do contact us, and it would be lovely to host you. Yeah. All
right. Well, it's on my list of things to come and do. I promised Mark, Lester, for your team, that I'll be down to come and play. Isn't it? He was there in Johannesburg as well, possibly Cabernet Franc on the horizon as well. One last one for you. I've got a bottle, my Cordoba. I think my wife has actually hidden my Cordoba because she's realised that if I then open the wine, she gets to drink the rest of it. She's a lawyer and a cunning one at that. So the bottle is now open. What would Schalk-Willem be having first cooked for dinner with the rest of this bottle of the Cordoba Crescendo?
Well, we've just finished our harvest. I mean, the last grapes arrived about 15 or 20 minutes ago. Everybody's psyched. So tonight, I'm inviting the whole team to my house, and we are having a picanha and salad and wine.
That sounds fabulous. I might see if there's a late flight out of Johannesburg and move forward to go to Taaibosch. As you mentioned, the harvest looking good, feeling confident for the 2021 haul.
Have you ever heard a winemaker saying that the harvest is not good? I mean, the best vintage is the one that we need to sell. So yes, we had our challenges. We had 65 millimeters of rain a week ago, but so far, very elegant texture in the wine. So I'm quite optimistic that it's going to be a good vintage. I don't foresee 15 or 2005 or 17 even, more elegant for the wines that is coming from Taaibosch.
All right. Early days yet for Taaibosch, but plenty of excitement. Schalk, thank you so much. Really appreciate the opportunity. It is the legend of Cordoba reborn as Taaibosch, with the Crescendo getting a new lease of life. And I'll tell you what, first impressions, it's a pretty good lease of life with that. Schalk, thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Schalk-Willem Joubert down at Taaibosch, formerly Cordoba, with the Crescendo. And we're going to be having him back on the show in the next month or two to chat about his other project, the Rosé from just across the road. He's having some fun, is Schalk, in his post-Rupert and Rothschild years. Right, well, he's a fairly athletic sort, is Schalk Joubert, which leads rather nicely into our next two guests. One of them is a fine athlete, a remarkably quick human being, and somebody who's incredibly well known. And the other is Seabelo Senatla. So let's jump over to the team that brings us the glory. One is Seabelo himself, and Reino Thiart is the winemaker out at Idiom and at Whalehaven. Let's kick off there with Seabelo. I see we've got both of them. Guys, warm welcome. Lovely to have you both with us, and thank you for joining us. The athlete and Seabelo, so we've got you both there. Let's kick off this, Seabelo, on this wine journey of yours, because there's many things that people know about. Normally, reducing opposition defences to tears as you burn past them en route to yet another try. This might, for some people, be slightly unexpected, though. Seabelo Senatla, the wine owner, where did the love of wine come from, and what guided you towards deciding I actually want to make some?
Thanks for having us, Dan. It's really great to be here. I think for me, the stay in Stellenbosch, I used to stay in Stellenbosch for a huge chunk of my career, in earlier days, that is, while I was at the Sevens. So I think that having introduced this idea, rather, it was a case of me creating a moment for my Sevens career, because I see myself in the third phase now, which is just 15. A lot of people are going to hate me for saying that, because there's the Olympics still looming. So that's not looking out the window. But yeah, I wanted to create a moment and like a celebratory tool for my Sevens career. And I wanted to do it creatively, not the traditional way of writing a book or doing something like that, but still have something tangible that people can have remembrance of me doing great things on the Sevens pitch, and also for part of the celebration as well. More than me, I think this one is created to be a reflector to whoever's hand is in that. So that was the whole idea behind Glory Wines, and that's why we created it.
And the wine you've created is not one that you've made yourself entirely. You've had a little bit of help, and that's from the team of Idiom. How did Idiom come into the picture?
So myself and one of the properties of the Idiom brand, we're having dinner, which we were both invited to. My friend of mine, he was introducing a new menu, so he wanted us to taste it, and we were having Idiom wines at that point, the Cape blend to be specific. Now I'm sitting next to Silvana. Her name is Silvana. I'm sitting next to Silvana the whole night. I'm complimenting this one, and she's basically not saying, anything alluding to the one being hers. But at the end of the night, we were too jolly and nobody wanted to go home, so we needed more wine, and subsequently shared more in the boot, and we could go fetch a couple of bottles. And after complimenting her again, she then confessed that the wine is hers and invited me to Idiom. to come have a tasting. So I had a tasting with her. That was way before my idea of creating a Momo, trying to do something like Glory. I went to the farm. I enjoyed more of the wines, amazing wines they have in their catalog. And when that idea arose about a year post that meeting, or that tasting rather, that's when I thought about Sylvana, because she had alluded in our chats that they're quite playful with their approach. And obviously I wanted to have 7 different elements in my wine purely because of Sevens rugby. And also not just that, but have 7 elements which kind of like tell a story of my attributes and what I do on the pitch. So there's a hefty ask, but I think they did pretty well there.
Let's move over to the winemaker and get his thoughts. Reino, what did you first think when you heard that this Sevens rugby star had decided he wanted to try and make some wine?
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise, but I think the natural progression was there. Look, Idiom's got quite a vast range of varieties on the farm, so it made it a little bit easier to pick a few varieties that we can, I suppose, can use to show off Seabelo's different characteristics.
It's not an unusual occurrence to have a celebrity deciding they want a wine, but in the nicest possible way. It's usually something of a vanity project. I want it to look nice. I can give it to my friends. We can have my wine at dinner. You do get the exceptions, though, Reino, where the celebrity in question does actually get properly stuck into the process. I suspect that was the case here, that Seabelo was more than just, I'd like my name on some wine. He actually wanted to really get involved with it, understand what was happening, and then give as much support as he could.
Yes, no, definitely. I think it was quite different. So we had a lot of tasting sessions and a lot of work to go through to eventually, obviously, 7 different varieties in a wine can be challenging. But as I mentioned, luckily we've got quite a few varieties on the farm. So it was just a matter of tasting through and getting to know what he likes, and then putting it together. And yeah, he was very, very involved from the start. So it made it a lot easier.
I remember chatting to Louis Stradum at Ernie Elsewine about Ernie's first steps on his wine journey, and it was very simple. Louis just bought out a whole pile of wine, and consistently Ernie just kept going back to the same style of Bordeaux blend that became the Ernie Els signature. Was that the case, Reino, with Seabelo? Was he pretty clear on what he liked and what he was headed for?
Yes, but I think there's, again, as I mentioned, there was a few varieties that stood out that he was very keen on, and that I think, again, it was in tune with his characteristics and what he was like or still is, I suppose, as a rugby player on the field. So he liked what those different varieties were bringing to the blend. So we kept hanging around the same type of varieties, and at the end of the day, those were the ones we had to pick.
Seabelo, you clearly found something that you really like, and it shows us where your palate is headed. How much fun was that process, the tasting, the investigating, the getting a sense of what might work to give us the Seabelo Senatla signature?
It was amazing. I totally enjoyed the whole process. It's totally something that obviously I'm not accustomed to. Running is much more easier for me. But it's a process which I enjoyed thoroughly. Reino and the team were very helpful in educating me about wine, because at that point I didn't really know a whole lot. I just knew what I wanted it to taste like. And yeah, we had a whole lot of tastings. It's so funny because the first time I tasted Glory, I didn't actually say, yeah, this is it. I tasted it and I tasted another wine and I tasted another wine. But after like a couple of minutes, I went back to Glory, tasted it again, and that was the last tasting, by the way. And that was literally my last taste, because I don't know, it has this thing of getting better over a long period of time. I guess it was well settled in the glass by the time I drank it the second and the third time, and it was so much better. I was like, yeah, this is it.
When you had to make this, Reino, you got given the direction because these athletes are all impossible. I want 7 wines in this, so they're not the easiest task for a winemaker, but I guess also quite fun for you, a slightly different challenge, and trying to both nail those 7 varietals while keeping the rugby starlets happy with what's on his palate.
Yeah, no, definitely. Look, I mean, we do make quite a few experimental blends every year. So, yeah, we do add a bit of this and that and see what works together. So over the years, we've had a pretty good idea what works together and what percentages. So to put these 7 varietals together was a lot of fun and challenging at sometimes, but at least we had some history to work from. So it was we had a little bit of education of which varieties would work best together.
You speak of history. Just before we try this wine, and it's looking at me very temptingly, I want to talk a little bit about rugby and wine together, Seabelo. The travels that have taken you around the world. You've played in some of the great wine countries of the world. During your traveling career as a 7-star, how much of an opportunity did you get over dinner or on a day off to try a local bottle, maybe get to a vineyard, see a little bit of the world beyond rugby, and venture into wine territory?
Well, then I hope next time that we travel that you're very close to me, because I really missed an opportunity to do something like that. In my younger days, I was, extremely focused on the rugby and the playing, and not too much on about other things. So I didn't head out much outside the hotel. Literally, just training, sleep, recover, training again. In my own words, I'd say I was overly focused. And growing older and knowing different things, the balance of doing the rugby thing and living life is quite important, because it keeps you kind of like fresh for the rugby, which is the main thing for me at the moment. So if I have you by my side next time, so you'll certainly go to these places and you'll show me around. You've been around and you know all the good spots, according to your stories that you tell me all the time.
Of course, it would also give you the perfect training partner. We could go sprinting in the morning together and do some heavy weight heading out. Would you have, let's say you're kicking off on a Saturday morning at the Hong Kong Sevens, would there ever be a glass of wine with dinner on a Friday night?
Not with the Sevens. My goodness, no. That's a brutal game that needs pretty much all of you. But in a 15s game, I can do that. I know a glass of wine is not too heavy as well, so I can fully function and feel like myself. Sevens is way too demanding on the body, I think, for a glass of wine for the time. Maybe afterwards, actually a couple to feel a little bit afterwards is the order.
I know a few forwards who I think have a couple of glasses at half time the occasional game. Give my regards to Scarra. Just out of interest, Reino, how much did you know about Seabelo before your paths crossed on this wine adventure? And is watching rugby, is watching the Sevens something that you would do regularly?
Yes, no, of course. Seabelo was a household name, I think, pretty much from the start. I've always enjoyed Sevens. I think it's a lot more demanding on a rugby player than 15. So yeah, I definitely knew Seabelo very well. I enjoyed working with him. So it was fantastic to meet him in person.
Well, you met him in person. You started this journey, and it's led to something rather special. We've mentioned there are 7 varietals. Tell us what those 7 varietals are, Reino, and then if you want, introduce us to the wine that now bears the superstar's name.
After it is off, we made quite a few wines, so it's difficult to remember all of them. It's a blend of Merlot, 31%, 19% Zinfandel, Cabernet Sauvignon 17%, 16% Shiraz, Mourvedre there's 9%, Petit Verdot 4%, and obviously a bit of South African 4% Pinotage as well.
So it's a hefty combination of some very different wines in there. How much of a challenge is it to work these together into one blend that brings the best out of them? And where particularly there's wine that's like the Petit Verdot or the Pinotage, just that 4%, that you still take advantage of those wines and don't lose them in the noise of everything else.
Yeah, look, I think most of the other French varieties tend to blend well together. Merlot, Cabernet. Cabernet Shiraz, we know, is blended quite successfully in Australia. Mourvedre, Shiraz. So as pockets, they work well together. So the real challenge was just to slot a few of them together. Maybe Zinfandel is the one that stands out. That was the most weird one to get in there. But our Zinfandel is actually quite herbaceous. So I think it adds quite a bit of a nice youthful freshness to the wine. And then you've got Petit, it adds a bit of longevity. So yeah, every portion of the blend brings a little bit extra to the final blend.
All right, I'm about to pour my very first glass of glory with some excitement. Before I do that, Seabelo, if somebody's saying to you, Seabelo, what does your wine taste like? It's always a tough one to describe, but what would your response there be?
Lost it.
Oh, Seabelo, I think he's finished his first bottle of wine. And all right, let's see if we can track him back. While we wait for Seabelo to come back. There we go. Is he back? He's a bit frozen. All right, well, let's stick with you for a second there, Reino. Just talk us through that first glass for people who haven't tried it yet, what they're getting, what the end result of this blend is.
Yeah, as I mentioned, there's a bit of the Merlot and Cabernet. It adds structure to the wine. Zinfandel usually adds a bit of herbaceousness in this wine. Shiraz and Mourvedre, a bit of meat and spice. Petit Verdot adds longevity and good natural tannin, and then Pinotage, we all know, adds a load of red berry fruits. So yeah, a bit of everything in this wine.
Okay, it's you could almost call it racy with that. Going for the low-hanging fruit. I see Neil Hermesace, who's busy watching as Seabelo disappeared, saying he went for a run. So that's quite. All right, we've got.
There you go.
All right, Seabelo back from his run. He just nipped out to Hermanus quickly to see Reino and dashing back. I'll try that question again from a moment ago, Seabelo. If somebody asks you, Seabelo, what does your wine taste like? How do you answer that?
Very smooth, very, very, very smooth. I feel like it's a very easy drinking wine. I don't know the technical terms to it yet. I'm working on my sommeliership, if I may call it that. But it's very easy drinking and also useful with meat as well. So I like its versatility in drinking it. You can drink it whatever you want, whether it's food or whether you just chilling or and looking to drink a bottle of wine. You can also have it like that. So it's perfect for me.
So when you've got the team around and you've got half a dozen cows on the braai, a few cases of this just to wash it all down with.
Yeah, not generally. First, you try to marinate the team with a couple of beers first because they can waste. So after they get to a level, then we take out the vino and be like, okay, gentlemen, enjoy.
Speaking of the team, I know Peter Steff has got the interest in the family wine estate. I know Scurra's a big lover of the winelands. Who are the other guys? If you had a day off and you're building up to the Rugby World Cup in France, you got a chance to go visiting an estate in Bordeaux. Who would your Stormers teammates be, or your Blitzboks teammates be, who'd be top of the list to go and join you for that day in the winelands?
I'll definitely go for Sergio Peterson. He enjoys a good wine. Stephen Kitzoff. Scurra is always an automatic entry. He picks himself really. That's just that. And Ruanel, I think those 4 other standard people that I normally enjoy stuff like that with, and the palates are quite educated as well. Even though we don't know the technical things to how the wine industry work, we kind of like know which ones are the good ones and the bad ones right now.
Do you really mean Ruanel, or are you just saying that because he watches everything you ever do on social media? He'll get really upset.
The last time I didn't mention him, like I put him in a bad light. We had a little squirrel, so I just had to rectify that.
Oh dear. What's the general reception, Reino, been to this wine? What have people been saying about it? How's it been selling? How's it gone down?
Look, the bit of feedback that I get, obviously I'm not, that's Seabelo and his team are running the sales, but the bit of feedback I've gotten is that people are quite excited about it. The packaging is quite unique because we've also, or not our decision, Seabelo has also gone with a 7-bottle lay flat. So there's 7 bottles, again, dedicated to his history at the Sevens. So there's 7 bottles laying flat in the packaging. So I think all those kinds of things adds on to be a bit more different and a bit more exciting. So yeah, in general, the feedback I've gotten is people are quite excited about it. It's a nice youthful wine with good structure. And as Seabelo mentioned, it's quite versatile. Food or just by glass, it goes both ways.
And the response that you've got from your mate Seabelo and from the public at large, has it been well received so far?
Very well received, and we've been quite blessed to receive so much liking of the wine. As Reino's mentioned a little bit earlier on, we are running the brand, and because when we had the agreement with Silvana, my negotiations with her was, we're not trying to add another wine to your portfolio because we understand what it takes for a wine brand to get to where it is. So we wanted to always run it and push our brand ourselves. So I've got a very small team of about, I think, 5 people, which are doing different things. And as Reino was saying, with a small team and with the batch that we have, because we don't have a lot of global wines. I think we have about 30,000 liters or something like that. So we don't have a huge volume. So we have to be very astute in how we move and then have to be creative at that because we are known in the wine space. And people normally, try to dampen the quality of the wine by just saying, we just plugged the name there, which is not the case. I was intrinsically involved with every little format and every little stage of the wine. And like I said, now it's my wine and it's our brand, and we're running everything from sales to the marketing to literally everything. But obviously staying close to Idiom because I think it would stand us in good stead if we piggyback off, their name, because obviously they made the wine, so people need to know that a great estate has produced that. We didn't make it in the back of our bedroom or like in the garage or something like that. So we staying close to the brand because we feel like the 2 brands work well together, and together we can pretty much receive more than going our individual ways.
Well, it's off to a good start, and you're getting some good reception here as well. And Neil Hermer says, "Well done, guys! Loving the packaging and the story behind it. Kudos to all involved." And it seems to me that it's the start of a journey. It's very much more than just a one-off project. And in particular, I see on the label, Seabelo, it says the series. Are there more wines to come? Perhaps a white blend to match the red blend? What's the wine plan going forward?
We've had a lot of thoughts. And it's a continued discussion. Sorry for that. So there is ideas jumping around. My man Reino needs to get ready for 15 varietals now. But first, we need to be a legend to be able to pull that off. But we're thinking about wine. We're thinking about MCC. We're thinking about all of the things. Hopefully, we can pull that off. This is definitely not a once-off.
I think you might find Reino changing his phone number quite suddenly. 15 blend red grapes in South Africa. How's that for a challenge?
I'm just joking.
Oh dear. But maybe not a 15 blend red, but perhaps a 7 blend white. Is that a possibility there, Reino?
Seven blend white would be a massive challenge. We are a red wine farm, so yeah, we only got about 2 or 3 white varieties on the farm. So yeah, 7 blend would be a bar set very high. We'll have to see where we end up.
The man is dismissing you already. He's like saying, "Don't get ideas, man."
Yeah.
Oh dear! Watch this space, and the moment you see Reino has unfriended Seabelo on Facebook, Glenn White hasn't quite worked out. It's been a lovely partnership so far, and I think really a highlight for both of you. And Reino must be also another interesting project for somebody whose wine life from a slightly unusual background is already, I'd imagine, something of a juggle. You've got Whalehaven and you've got Idiom, especially at this time of year, all of the harvesting going on. How difficult is it to juggle everything on top of having this major rugby celebrity making ridiculous demands on your time?
Yeah, look, I suppose after a while, one just takes it in your stride. I've been winemaker here for both since 2007, so it's been a long journey. Yeah, at the end of the day, you just have to make it work. So far it's worked out well. So touch wood, I suppose.
All right. Well, if the wine is any evidence to go by, it's certainly going particularly well. It's a very exciting blend, a little different to a lot of the wine that you'll get to try. Wine that you'll be celebrating with on regular occurrences, I've got no doubt, Seabelo, which leads to 2 last rugby-related questions. If you go back through this wonderful career of yours, what was the greatest moment of celebration? The moment that really needed that big glass of wine held up? And from there, if you had the option, would it be celebrating with a glass of glory with an Olympic gold medal or a World Cup medal?
Oh, Dan, you're asking very serious questions. Very serious and difficult questions. In terms of, I'd say in my own eyes, what I would regard as the highest moment of my career, as an individual now, and not as a team player. Like normally I look to team successes because that's how I play the game. I play the game to not just reach my goals, but reach my team's goals, and while doing that, try to reach my personal goals. I think the World Cup, not the World Cup, the World Player of the Year, the Sevens Rugby World Player of the Year in 2016 was quite high up there. And it was something that I had been working at the time for about 2 years. And I had just missed it the year before when Werner Kok won it, which was like a bittersweet moment for me because I was happy for him, but it was kind of sad for me. And to win it in the following year in that run was quite incredible. Definitely would have loved to have Gloria than that. There's something else which also was a good tool to celebrate with. So I'm not complaining about that. And in terms of winning a World Cup or winning the Olympics, I'd say I'm winning the World Cup. That decision is purely based on me not being at a World Cup before. I've been at the Olympics and I've gotten bronze there, so at least I've got a medal. If I don't have to go back, then I've got something to showcase for that. So World Cup is the next one.
All right. Do you think we'll see you at the Olympics this year?
I think you'll do. Working hard for that. I think you'll do.
Which could be, because I know there are no international spectators allowed, but I think that the Blitzboks could be the first team in Olympic history to arrive at the Games with a team winemaker on board. Reino, make sure the visa's ready for Japan later this year.
Yeah. No,
I'll be
pretty exciting thing to think about. Hopefully it does happen because obviously there's a lot of work that has to happen before that. there's a lot of talented people at the Sevens right now. It's full of crazy talent. I alluded to us having a Sevens factory in the country when we chatted on Thursday or Wednesday. So it's tough. It's a tough ask to just get there and and be picked, because there are guys that are working day in, day out right there. But yeah, it's a challenge that I'm actually looking forward to. I'm always looking to fight for a position there, and hopefully make it at the end.
Yeah, well, lots of hard work and plenty of glory before bed each night, and you should be absolutely fine. Reino, we will hopefully have you back on the show in the next little while, so we can talk a little bit more about the Idiom range and the Bottega family and their wonderful contributions to African wine. So we look forward to that happening. In the meantime, best of luck with what remains of harvest, starting the creation of 2021's wines. And Seabelo, good luck with the wine journey. It's so cool to see how excited you are about it and how genuinely interested you are in the wine world. I think it's wonderful to have that. So I shall happily finish this off and look forward to more vintages. And I can't wait for that 7 blend white and that 15 blend red in the 21 selection.
Thank you so much, Dan. Enjoy that. I'm jealous, actually. But we'll wait.
So there we go. Reino, Thiart, the winemaker at Wellhaven and Idiom, and for the purposes of this evening, the maker of Glory. And of course, I have a signed bottle, which I think actually drops the value slightly, but I shall keep it nonetheless. Seabelo Senatla, the signature series Glory, a 7 cultivar blend, and that is at the hands of Reino Thiart out at Idiom. So a big thank you to Reino and to Seabelo for joining us on Dan Really Likes Wine. A big thank you to Schalk-Willem Joubert from Taaibosch for giving us a look at the new Crescendo, formerly Cordoba and now Taaibosch. And well, he's picked up where Cordoba left off with a wonderfully elegant red blend that I think will find a lot of favor, particularly those of you who remember that original from Cordoba. So that does it for this evening. Remember, if you haven't done so already, to join that Pick and Pay Wine Club, it is oh so simple to do. You join it free of charge simply by text message. Send your Smart Shopper number to 36775. You get 3 times the Smart Shopper points on every single wine. You also get 20% off 10 wines each and every month. And there are cool competitions to look out for. They're great events. And there are deals on magnums and cases every month as well. So make sure you're signed up as a member there. And look out on Thursday. I'll be coming to you live from Ken Forrester as I join the team there with a couple of slightly unusual wines that we'll dig out from the bottom of Ken's cellar. And we will also be joining the team from Bilkart Salmon and trying some of their French champagne. So that's Thursday to look forward to. And remember, online tomorrow, the first of a 2-part piece with the great Michael Frijon. That starts tomorrow. Thanks very much for joining us. Big thank you to our guests. And we'll see you again live on Thursday. Have a great evening. Goodbye.